Hello YouTube, this is Unmasked Tuxedo. This video will teach all of you the meanings of each Braille cell. In case any of you forgot, this is the Braille chart. I divided the chart into 6 rows and 1 column. Every row has 10 cells, of which 2 in the bottom row are unused. Therefore, no cell in the rightmost column is in any row. From top to bottom, I number the rows from 1 to 6. I label the rightmost column as column P. Pay attention to this. This is the Braille dot locator. When it comes before another Braille cell, the dot locator acts like quotation marks, in that it tells Braille readers to read the next cell as the cell itself. To explain the meaning of each cell, I put this dot locator in front of it. Now it's time to go over the meanings of the Braille cells. This is the first cell on the Braille chart, the cell for the letter A. The A cell only has 1 dot, the top dot on the left. Every dot in a Braille cell has a number associated with it. On the left side of the cell, from top to bottom, are the dots numbered 1, 2, and 3. On the right side of the cell, also from top to bottom, are the dots numbered 4, 5, and 6. Therefore, the top dot on the left, the only dot in the A cell, is dot 1. Furthermore, the word A means 1. That was a mnemonic, a way to help you memorize the cell's meaning. I made a mnemonic for every cell in Braille. The next cell, which represents the next letter of the alphabet, represents the letter B. The B cell has 2 dots, dot 1 and dot 2. Therefore, the mnemonic for the B cell is the word buttons, which the cell's 2 dots resemble. This is the C cell, whose mnemonic is the word ceiling, because the cell only has the top dots, dot 1 and dot 4. This is the D cell, whose mnemonic is the word dive, because the shape of its dots looks like a swimmer or a dolphin diving. This is the E cell, whose mnemonic is the word empty, because its dots look like the needle pointing to E on a fuel gauge. This is the F cell, whose mnemonic is the word fire, because its dots look like a firefighter holding a fire hose. This is the G cell, whose mnemonic is the word gate, because the shape of its dots looks like a gate. This is the H cell, whose mnemonic is the word hand, because the shape of its dots looks like a person's arm with his or her hand raised as if to wave it and say hello. This is the I cell, whose mnemonic is the word incline, because its dots look like a line that goes up as it goes to the right. This is the J cell, whose mnemonic is the word jalapeno, because the shape of its dots looks somewhat like a jalapeno. By the way, the word jalapeno comes from the Spanish language, in which the letter J sounds somewhat like the English letter H. In later videos, I will introduce what I call mirror image mnemonics, which will help you tell the difference between 2 Braille cells that are mirror images of each other, such as the H and J cells. This is the K cell, whose mnemonic is the word kite, because its bottom dot looks like a person on the ground holding the kite's string, while its top dot looks like the kite itself, which is high in the air. This is the L cell, whose mnemonic is the word line, because its dots form a straight vertical line. This is the M cell, whose mnemonic is a magician with a monocle, because its 2 top dots look like a magician's top hat, while its lone bottom dot looks like a monocle, an eyeglass for only one eye. This is the N cell, whose mnemonic is the word net, because the shape of its dots looks like a butterfly net. This is the O cell, whose mnemonic is odd dots only, because it only has dots 1, 3, and 5, and 1, 3, and 5 are odd numbers. This is the P cell, whose mnemonic is power pole, because the shape of its dots looks like half of a power pole. This is the Q cell, whose mnemonic is question mark, because the shape of its dots looks somewhat like a question mark. This is the R cell, whose mnemonic is the word right, because the shape of its dots looks like an arrow pointing to the right. This is the S cell, whose mnemonic is the word swan, because the shape of its dots looks like a swan's long neck. This is the T cell, whose mnemonic is the word tornado, because the shape of its dots looks like a tornado. This is the U cell, whose mnemonic is the word under, which you can picture as if its lone top dot is a raindrop and its two bottom dots are the canopy of an umbrella. Thus, you can remember the U cell with the phrase an umbrella under the rain. This is the V cell, whose mnemonic is vacuum cleaner, because the shape of its dots looks like a vacuum cleaner viewed from the side. This is the W cell, whose mnemonic is the word west, because the shape of its dots looks like an arrow pointing to the left. And on maps, west is the direction on the left side of the compass rose. This is the X cell, whose mnemonic is railroad crossing, because the shape of its dots looks like railroad tracks, and the word Xing found on signs is an abbreviation for crossing. This is the Y cell, whose mnemonic is the word yak, because the shape of its dots looks like a yak's head turned sideways. This is the Z cell, whose mnemonic is the word zoom, because the shape of its dots looks like the front of a bullet train, a type of train that runs so fast that one can say that it zooms. The mnemonics that I coined for each Braille cell are only suggestions. In other words, you have every right to come up with different mnemonics. This is the end of the first video in a series of 3 videos about the meanings of the Braille cells. Stay tuned for part 2, in which I cover the meanings of the group signs. Until then, this is Unmasked Tuxedo, signing off.